We are the restaurant brokers, and we sell restaurants.
We started the nation's largest restaurant brokerage firm over a decade ago.
Atlanta, Georgia was our starting point, but our brand is spreading nationwide. We define restaurant brokerage and help buyers just like these.
Our dream, our goal, open up a restaurant, loving life, serving people breakfast and lunch, and then enjoying the rest of the day with them and ourselves.
Buying an existing restaurant, leasing a closed restaurant space, or purchasing a restaurant franchise. We help buyers satisfy their appetite for acquisition.
I'm part of a husband and wife team with this fella.
Working with my wife has been a lot of fun. The ultimate goal for everybody here is to make this work. And because we have different strengths, we bring different angles to the deal.
The process begins with our powerhouse website, WeSellRestaurants.com, where buyers sign online confidentiality agreements and browse restaurants for sale.
Then we send buyers undercover to check out a restaurant and decide if it's the right one for them.
Buyers get our proprietary business analysis tool with all the financial details on the business for sale.
After studying the restaurant inside and out, it's back to our office.
We are deal makers. We write contracts and negotiate terms for buyers and sellers. That's why we sell more restaurants than any other firm in the nation. We are the restaurant brokers. Our name says it all. That sound means you're back on the air with the Restaurant Brokers, Eric and Robin Gagnon, and we sell restaurants. Hey, today we have been talking about grilling. We had some fabulous guests, Linkie Marais, who was a past contestant on Next Food Network star, grilling expert from South Africa, and Chef DP, who is an outdoor celebrity chef. And Eric, I was just struck by the entrepreneurship of both of these individuals kind of display and sort of what their lives are like and their trajectory of their careers. What did you think about today's show?
I think it was very interesting to talk about grilling and the perspective they have, especially Chef DP and what he's accomplished. I mean, he went kind of the reverse route. I mean, had a restaurant, brick and mortar, trying to go to culinary school at the same time, and it was just too much. And he ended up with a roadside kind of setup, and has been very successful for him, and he sticks with it. He said he keeps it simple, which is very interesting because, I mean, how many of you out there, talk about, we complicate things and we end up with so many menu items, so many things, and he's very successful at it, executes very well, and he says, this is who we are, this is what we are going to do and be the best at it, which was a very interesting, inspiring story from a perspective of being a successful restaurant, and he doesn't have 50 items on his menu.
Well, that, and he went the restaurant route and said, the complexity, the number of employees, all the different things that you have to keep up with, can he find a passion outside of the traditional restaurant space? And he demonstrated clearly that you absolutely can. So he became this kind of roadside chef. And, I'm sure when people hear roadside chef, the image that pops into your mind isn't he's got this very classy commercial outdoor kitchen that's permitted and everything about it is appropriate for the serving of food. But that model works so well for him that he's expanded his reach into personal branding of Chef DP and into the Sabroso sauce, and he's expanding that line. So it really just comes down to you as an individual. You're looking to get into this industry. There are so many different paths that your life can take. You're definitely not in one field or the other. You don't just have to do the traditional, I'm going to do a restaurant. Or he said, some of his instructors at culinary school were like, oh, just do a food truck. But everybody's doing a food truck. He said, I'm going to do something different. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, he mentioned portability. I mean, that's very interesting, especially some of you maybe in very high rent areas, and, there may not be some availability, even if you can pay the rent. So how do you get in some areas that are non-traditional with the equipment and everything? That's a good thing to think about, Having the festivals also, you talk about festivals, where a very interesting way. He says, get out of your store, travel. We'll be networking with different kind of people, see different kinds of food. So again, we talk about education, we talk about conference, we talk about different things. I never thought of it, but festival could be a great way to go and learn some things from different people, isn't it?
Absolutely. The other thing I was struck by is that he really said, I'm not going to be all things to all people. And too often what we see is whatever the trend of the day is, somebody says, oh, well, the trend of the day is craft beer, so I'm going to throw out 50% of my bar and add in craft beer. The trend of the day is, now avocado. So I'm going, I'm not any kind of a restaurant associated with avocados, but now it's going to be 20% of my menu. What I really admire about the clarity of his vision is that he said, I'm going to be about grilling. I'm going to be about conch grilling. I'm going to do it super well. I'm going to understand that, and I'm going to deepen and develop that niche, that vertical, rather than trying to be all things to all people. And that's great advice for anyone in the restaurant business is, sometimes the greater sense of success can be obtained by actually becoming much more narrow, much more focused, and earning your credentials for one type of food rather than trying to have that generalist or populist type menu or follow whatever the latest, greatest thing is out there.
I agree. And now for the news flash. If you're not grilling anything in your restaurant, you're missing on a huge opportunity. What we've learned today is grilling has become a real part of everyday food for everybody. I mean, we've talked about grilling pizzas. I mean, Linkie talked about she grilled donuts.
I mean,
that was unbelievable. Lemon and lime as a garnish, as a part of a drink. So we're grilling things to go in drinks. We're talking about smoky flavors. I mean, we're talking about all sorts of different things that are now being done on the grill. We're talking about from desserts. You talk about cake that she made on the grill. So if you have a restaurant or thinking about it, I think you need to find a way to use that grill back there, whether it's a 2-foot grill or a 3-foot or a 4-foot grill, and find ways to make interesting things with it that are a good complement or a good addition to your menu for many reasons. It's healthier in many cases. It's also more creative right now. There's a lot more ways to play with it at more efficient costs, because you're talking about raw, you're talking about maybe one sauce. You're not talking about very complex béarnaise sauce and different things like that are complicated that will spoil. So you talk about spices, the shelf life is huge, and usually the cost is better. So you can be very creative while maintaining a very good food cost. Do you agree with that, Robin?
I do agree with that, and I think it's an important point because there's also that flavor profile that comes through from grilling. You can't get it from anything else. You can't duplicate it. You're not going to get it from broiling or roasting or pan searing, it's just what happens once you grill that comes through the food that speaks so loud and clearly to the customer and to the palate. And so I do think that if you have, you have a grill there because, everybody's got to have one, and every once in a while you flip a burger on it, I think it's time to challenge your staff and say, let's talk about how we are going to prepare 2 or 3 things. And that's not replacing something on your menu. Take that old, tired chicken dish that's not moving and figure out how you can put a few grill marks on it and then infuse some new flavors to it that totally elevates it and pushes it up. We are big fans of not just add to your menu. Take the information, data you have available to you within your POS system, figure out what's trending up, what's trending down, take those that are trending down, and maybe you keep the very same flavor profiles and the very same protein ingredient, but you change how you prepare that dish, and all of a sudden it becomes a hit, and it's something new for your wait staff to talk about with customers.
That's good advice. And go to your equipment supplier and look what kind of new grills out there. Can you get it more closer to a charcoal flavor without putting a lot of maybe liquid smoke or whatever they used to call it? What can you use in your kitchen that could be a new piece of equipment, maybe for a few $1,000s, and add a whole new line of items in your menu? This is the time to do that. You may have a piece of equipment that's tired. You may have a Chef DP talk today. Say, hey, I used to see 4 or 5 fryers in festivals, and now I see 1 or 2 people are doing fresher things. So do you have 4 fryers on your line, but 2 of them are just really, you put, just excess equipment on it, and you're not even using them? Well, maybe you can remove them and sell these, trade them in, and get a different grill. So I think it's always something to look at and follow the trends. And, by listening to this show, you are doing that. And this is something to look at. Grilling is a big part. It's no longer just a summer trend. I think grilling, if you look at even big company like Chick-fil-A, they have a whole line now of grilling, grilled chicken flavor profile that they've changed. That just got some menu awards recently. So you have to look at that. People are looking and craving that flavor. I mean, Linkie said what? It reminds me of my father when I was a young girl. I mean, who doesn't want these memories anymore?
Well, and you're absolutely right, too, in terms of what kind of equipment that you have behind the grill, and also just satisfying so many of the requirements of people that come to you. If they're gluten-free, if they have allergies. I mean, the grill is a very easy way to satisfy someone with gluten problems, because if you just stay away from products, sauces, and the dry rubs that would have any gluten-type ingredients, you could do a whole meal for someone gluten-free, and that's a huge growth area in the industry. So you can really satisfy more than one audience at one time. Increase a flavor profile, do something a little bit different, and also take care of those with allergy or gluten type requirements.
And if you want to get started, get a little head start, go to WeSellRestaurants.com. Look at what we have for sale. You may have a whole package ready for you that's going to be really close to what you want, and get started in your next restaurant.
That's right. WeSellRestaurants.com, because it's not only just this radio show, countless articles, lots of advice, links to where you can buy our book, Appetite for Acquisition, but there are listings, actual restaurants that you can see open and operating or closed locations where you can satisfy your dream, the American dream of owning your own restaurant, and that particular dream of being in the restaurant business. This is Eric and Robin Gagnon, and we are the Restaurant Club.